All right.
Cool.
Welcome back to another episode of Gentle Power. Today, we want to jump right into the negotiations topic. And there's something else interesting that I want to share after. But then for now, what we wanted to talk about around negotiations was...
Yeah, so very briefly before we get to that.
You're like, all right, well, let's actually start with a little bit of chit-chat.
No chit-chat, but we want each of our episodes to be part personal life and part negotiations. But this time, we can't wait to talk about the negotiations part, so we'll just start with that and see if people like this order.
Format.
Yeah.
So let us know what you prefer if we jump into negotiations first right away, and then also share a bit about our lives or recent insights or whatnot, or vice versa. So
yeah, definitely let us know. Any thoughts? Cool. So I was very excited to talk about this topic because...
You've been talking about this for a while now. You said you can't wait for it on the podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So this topic is around negotiations where we and you, the listener, are on the side of paying for a service. Things that we came up with were like definitely hairstylists for me. I have a lot of examples of what has happened there. Dentists, I think this happened with a family member of mine.
Property managers,
or even contractors, or people who fix stuff like plumbers. I want to treat this topic very carefully because the reason we got into this business to begin with is to help the underdog. We are very aligned with helping people or the side of the negotiation where there's asymmetric information, and it's very rewarding for us to help that side of the negotiation. And for the record, we have been approached by venture capital firms, founders, and large companies who have asked us to help them negotiate against employees. And I have said no many times because it feels unethical.
Yeah, they're like, how do we not overpay? Or how do we make sure that
how do I negotiate against this employee? Yeah. So I want to treat this topic very carefully because it's not about like how to take advantage of contractors or anything like that, but it's about coming out of that interaction in a way that it doesn't leave you
feeling resentful.
Yeah, feeling resentful or leave a bad taste in your mouth. So I want to give a couple examples to make this concrete. I encountered this a lot with hairstylists because I get my hair done a lot throughout the year. I either have extensions or I dye it blonde or I do straightening and all that. Because we've moved a lot, I've worked with different hairstylists. And one example is I was referred to this girl who splits her time between SF and LA. And my friend had gorgeous blonde hair, but like platinum, like that looks a little like almost white. Mm-hmm. And I love that color, but it's really hard to pull off. And I think the women in the audience know what I'm talking about. Everyone else probably doesn't know what I'm talking about. But it's extremely hard for... I have like kind of brown hair to pull off a platinum color. And not only it might be hard to get there, but it might ruin your hair. So it's a very delicate balance for a hairstylist. So when I see someone who has that color, I'm like, where did you get it done? And so my friend said, oh, there's this girl who splits her time between SF and LA. Okay. But we're talking like almost $1,000. And so I was obviously very nervous, both about the hair and the price. And well, it was $1,000 for my friend. For me, it was like half or so. So I talked to this girl. I'm texting her and like, okay, how much is it? Okay, well, I don't want the whole hair, just like highlights and stuff like that. And this has happened to me almost every time with a stylist where they sneak in, maybe what's a better word? Not like sneak in, but somehow at the end of after you're done, they're like, oh, we also put in this treatment for you and it will cost another $30, $50.
Unexpected add-ons.
Unexpected add-ons that have not been communicated throughout, or they've been very indirectly communicated. In any case, I was like, okay, I'm going to stay on top of this because this is a lot of money. And so I was like, I'm going to make sure like, hey, I only want highlights. How much is it? And then she gives me a number. I'm like, okay, anything else I need to know about? And she's like, no. So I go there. She tries to upsell me. She's like, well, because your roots are dark, it's not going to look as good as your friends because the reflection, blah, blah. I'm like, no, I'm not going to pay $1,000 for my hair. Is what I thought. I'm sticking to what I wanted, like highlights, because I want to see if she can actually get it done for my hair. Maybe I would have asked for something better next time. And we get to the end of it, and I'm like, I had this suspicion, like it felt very unlikely that we landed on the price that I had communicated throughout. And I was just almost like bracing myself.
And when you were communicating throughout, was she confirming, or
I
was she
like,
using very vague?
Yeah,
what
a little
was that?
vague.
Yeah.
I was like, how much is it? She's like, oh, it depends on your length. I'm like, here's a picture. Okay, well, between, I don't know, I'm going to make some numbers up because it's been a couple years actually. I don't know, 400 to 500. Okay, so at least I had a bit of an upper, like a ceiling. And then I don't remember the exact numbers. And then I felt like because of how she was a little shifty, like, how is she going to get me?
Yeah.
I was very curious. And then at the very end, I'm like, okay, we agreed to this much, right? And so what's the exact number? Because we agreed to a range. And then she goes, oh, yeah, just realized I gave you my LA rate. My SF rate is actually this much. So it was like $50 more. And with a tip, it ends up being like, let's say $60 more.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's how she got me. It was so...
I mean, I'm kind of smiling because I'm thinking, wow, these are very unique, creative ways.
Yeah.
And you kind of almost got to respect the hustle.
You
But
gotta,
then you as the recipient of the service and the person who will be paying, you have to keep in mind you can't necessarily allow the other side to just maintain some sort of vague gray area where later on there was enough gray area for them to charge you on the upper end or throw in these unexpected add-ons, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I think because I have so many data points with hairstylists, this happens, like I said, almost every time, because another example is when they, like I said, add on like a treatment. Oh, your hair was so dry. I mentioned it was dry, so we put in this treatment that's $30 to $50. But then remember, there's also a tip on top of that. And anyway, so at the point where she goes, okay, this is my SF rate, I had to make a decision. Like, do I say, well, we already agreed to this other number, or do I let it be? And for me, I think people, when they hear that I'm a negotiations expert, they imagine a very, not stingy, what are some words? Like very like picky
not penny pinching,
and like kind of like not letting anything, and that type of like almost annoying, like pedantic, or whatever the word is.
Overly detail oriented and picking things apart.
I think that's what people think, because I have friends, like new friends, who eventually get to know me better, and they're like, oh, I thought you were going to negotiate this and this with me. I'm like, no, I don't do this in my day-to-day life, or like that's also not my negotiations approach. It's much more like holistic and collaborative. And we say this all the time, like be collaborative, be nice, be cordial. Why are you laughing?
No, because be collaborative, be nice, be demure, be mindful. I know that was so 2024. Millennial. I keep coming back to that, but go on.
And so I had to make a decision. And I think when people hear that I'm a negotiations expert, what they imagine is I would do at the point. I'll be like, no, we didn't agree to this, and I'm not going to pay you that much. That's not what I did. I said okay and never went back to her ever again. But I said okay because at the end of the day, again, I factor in well, first of all, I already knew there would be some sort of upsell, in like hidden upsell. But I also I'm a little more lenient on contractors because we're so surrounded by executives and mid-careers in tech that make insane amounts of money. Like this, at the end of the day, this is a hairstylist. That $50, it probably is like a very, very meaningful amount to her. And I let it go. But one, I didn't feel good about it, both for myself and for her. And two, I never went back to her. So what I would love for us to discuss right now is how to approach these situations so that you're not left feeling that way at the end of the day. And you're not left feeling a moral conundrum, like what should I have done, so that I both don't take advantage of, a contractor, but I also stay true to myself. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to talk about what you could do. Do you want to talk about your example as well with the property manager.
Yeah. So for context, we have a rental property out in the East Coast that we got when we were in Boston. And so still managing that, obviously living in San Francisco, managing a place on the East Coast, it's not easy. So I have a property manager. They're great. I've had them for several years. But one thing that kept coming up is I would just continue to get these invoices out of nowhere. And I have it set up so that my tenants can request it directly from them. But at the beginning, some of these charges were really high. And so I kept asking them, hey, what was this repair for? I'm kind of out of the loop, all this stuff. And so
like they don't even ask you, like, or they don't even tell you, like, hey, we need to repair this thing.
Yeah.
Or you knew they were needed to repair something. You just didn't know how much it was going to cost.
Yeah. And also this was a similar situation in which there was a gray area where the agreement is when there are needed repairs, we will go ahead and do it. If it's a large project, then we will check in with you beforehand and get your approval. But then I don't think there was ever any specific call out as to what constitutes a large project. Is it over $1,000? Is it $500? So I told them, I basically went to them and said, hey, so let's establish some ground rules because I don't like getting surprised by these invoices that come out of the blue, and I feel like I'm not in the loop on what's going on at the property. So for any repairs that you estimate will be $200 or more, I want you to reach out to me before you move forward so that you get my approval first. So they said, okay, that sounds good. And then later on, I started getting multiple invoices that were all just under $200.
$199.99.
And then and this kind of happened over, I've been with them for several years. I mean, besides the surprising invoice thing, I'm super happy with the service, but I felt like I just continued to get surprised. And I realized that the agreement that we had was any estimate that is $200 or more. But the word estimate is very flexible, right? Because sometimes things can happen along the way during a repair that you feel like you also need to do other things that lead to a contractor being at the property for longer. And then there's labor hours, all this stuff. I then reclarified what the agreement should be, which is any time that you engage with my property or tenants, and if there's any repair needed, you are not moving forward unless you check in with me first. I want to approve 100% of things. And now this may sound harsh in the way that I said it.
I'm surprised that that wasn't already part of the SOP.
So I think the SOP was written in a way where it was there was a lot of gray area. And this is probably something I should have handled up front, but also at the time, so busy, especially when you're getting a property manager, is because you don't have enough time to do anything. So I remember just kind of briefly reading the contract, signing, and all this stuff. Read contracts very carefully, but also in the grand scheme of things, these repairs and stuff is small compared to the value I get from us having this rental property. And so it may sound harsh I was a bit frustrated and the way that I communicated, but one thing that helped me, and this is a very helpful mindset to have, or something to keep in mind to make it feel okay to be a bit more directive with what you're communicating, which is I was communicating with them the reason why. Every time I would tell them this, I communicated with them the reason why I was saying it. And so if you tell yourself a very valid reason and also you communicate that, then it helps your mind justify, hey, this makes perfect sense. It's totally fair for me to ask this. So whenever I told them, hey, I keep getting surprised by these invoices, here is how I would like for things to move forward. And the reason why I'm saying this is because I've had multiple experiences in the past with you where I've been surprised out of the blue by invoices, expenses, these add up. I run my own business, and so it's very important for me that I don't get unexpected charges. So when you are able to provide that reasoning or justification, it doesn't just help them understand where you're coming from, but it also helps you feel okay actually putting down a firm.
It feels cleaner. Like you don't have to be like careful around it or like uneasy and uncomfortable. It's not because I don't trust you and things like that. You just convince yourself of something and communicate to them that reason, and then it feels cleaner.
Yeah, and something else totally unrelated, unrelated to property managers or hairstylists, but I found myself naturally doing this, and I realized how beneficial it is. This is on the DJing side. So I've been coordinating with an event organizer for a really, really big show where I was invited to be one of the opening DJs. It's basically 100% official, right? I feel like it's 99%
Why don't you
official.
say it, and if it gets canceled or something falls through, we can edit it out.
Yeah, or we can give an update on a future podcast to what happened. But I was invited to open for one of my favorite artists of all time, Black Coffee. He is
his name
probably
is Black Coffee.
His DJ name is Black Coffee. I believe he's from South Africa, but he is probably the world's #1 Afro house artist and responsible for making it such a dominant genre in the electronic
music
music
scene. Like one of your favorite genres.
It's one of my favorite genres. I love DJing Afro house, and so when I was invited to DJ for this, I was like, oh my god, yes. I don't care if I'm DJing the bathroom. I will just get me in this lineup. So I've been coordinating with the event organizer, and surprisingly for how big this event is, the communications has been a bit chaotic. It's just there has been a lot of gray area in the communications where I say, hey, is it confirmed that I'm in the lineup so that I can start sharing it on Instagram? I have different communities of friends who like to come to events, and they would basically say things like, it's like, yeah, it should be good to move forward.
Right.
It's confirmed on our end. It's confirmed with the venue. We're just waiting to hear back from Black Coffee's team, but you're probably good to go. And so for me, I just didn't feel comfortable sharing publicly on Instagram and with all my friends.
Yeah, let's talk about why that matters to you. So why, I mean, not only just emotionally, like, am I doing this or not, but also as a DJ, if you have a gig, especially such a big one and splashy one, you tell all your friends, like a lot of DJs have their own communities, like a WhatsApp group or something like that. You tell them, and now they buy tickets to come and support you. So there's a social capital cost to you and an actual cost to your friends. Then you post about it on your socials, and then like maybe you add it to your website and things like that. So it's not as simple as like, oh, I'm just waiting around for, the other part is also that you can't ideally you don't do other gigs that weekend or that week. And because then you'll have to push different events, and it dilutes your
marketing and your pull to events.
Yeah. So it's important for you to know whether you are confirmed or not.
Yeah. And so I kept checking in with the event organizer. I really wanted to get full conviction that this is fully moving forward. And I kept getting back 90% conviction responses. And it got to the point where this event started being marketed publicly on Instagram from them. And I still hadn't heard back, hey, you're in the lineup, your name's on the poster with Black Coffee. It's done, fully good to move forward. And so I didn't feel comfortable sharing ahead.
By the way, me on the back end, like from, what is it called? Like from in the behind the scenes and me behind the scenes as your talent manager, I'm like, make sure to stay on top of it, check in with the organizers every day.
Yeah, Gerta has definitely been making sure that I'm communicating with them. Great DJ manager. I told the event organizer, I said, okay, so if you're saying that I'm good to go, even though I didn't have the 100% conviction, but if it seems like it's good to go, I can start messaging this out to some of my private communities. I'm going to hold off on posting about this publicly on Instagram until I hear 100% confirmation back. And the thing is, I felt uncomfortable saying that, or I had this...
Yeah, you were probably worried that they would take it away, right? Like that's usually the fear. It's like, what if they say like, oh, you don't want to share it, or you don't want to, then like we're not a good fit.
Yeah, and not just that for sure, but also it's because I was going back and forth with the event organizer a lot, and I had already asked, can you let me know when it's 100% confirmed multiple times? And I had this aversion to keep asking the same question, even though they weren't responding in a way that was moving things forward, right? Yeah. But I still had this inclination to not want to ask. But
let me add something. Yeah, because like de facto, like it's your right, and it just makes sense that you would want it to be confirmed. But we have all these, maybe it's social unspoken rules, or maybe it's just like internal, I don't know, human condition or something, where we don't want to rock the boat, or like you feel like
or
you're
make
being
things
annoying,
awkward.
Make things awkward. And this is also the value that we bring as negotiations consultants. Like a lot of clients say that this is one of the biggest value adds we do, which is, let's say if you were my client, I would like talk you through it and be like, hey, no, it's actually they should be responding to you. You're not being annoying. It makes sense that you would check in every day or every other day. So just to give a peek into like what it looks like if this were a consulting
and so
engagement between us.
Especially when it comes to in the music DJing scene and booking gigs, you always want to maintain really positive relationships with event organizers, venue owners, promoters, because if you work with them well, they'll keep inviting you back, right? And so it feels like there are lots of things at stake. But what really helped me feel okay to continue to ask is similar to what I was talking about with the property manager, is to have a very good reason why I'm asking and communicating that. And also
both for yourself and to communicate to them.
Exactly.
It's cleaner.
Yeah. So what I said in one of the most recent asks was, so I'll start sharing about this event with my private communities, start drumming up excitement for it, but I'm going to hold off on posting about it publicly until I get 100% confirmation that the lineup is fully locked in and that I'm in it. And the reason why I keep asking this is because this has happened before, where I thought something was moving forward and it didn't, and I had already told all my friends, some of them had bought tickets. It just got very confusing and messy, and I just want to avoid that situation again.
Yeah.
Very valid reason,
right.
And when I communicated that, and it was also a true reason for myself, it was a good reminder for me,
right.
This is why I'm asking to avoid a potential messy situation later.
Yeah.
And it's completely fair for me to do so.
You're not paranoid. You're not being annoying. It's like this has happened in the past, and I want to avoid that going forward.
Yeah, so a takeaway here is, if you have a reason that you communicate and also that you're communicating to yourself, it makes it much easier to do something that might be uncomfortable, like being very clear about locking in a rate or just 100% checking in or continuing to check in if something is moving forward.
Yeah. I think the corollary is have and find a reason, right?
Yeah.
Like think of something. So what you're making me realize with hairstylists, maybe I should say that too. It's like, hey, it's happened in the past that other stylists, I know you would never do that. Other stylists have unintentionally added things during the process that I didn't know until I was ready to pay. So do you mind telling me along the way?
Yeah.
So we talked about have a reason for yourself, for your own confidence. Have an external reason, like what you say to them. It could be the same or it could be different things. And then lock it in up front. I mentioned my hairstylist. I have another example. So I have a member of my family in Albania, went to the dentist and had a lot of work done, like a lot. I think it was like implants and stuff like that. But again, this is Albania. I don't think there's like health insurance. You kind of pay out of pocket. But I mean, it's
YOLO
cheaper.
Health.
No, it's much cheaper. It's like theoretically, most things are free or like very, very cheap. And so this is a developing country, all of that. So my family member goes to the dentist, a lot of work. But like, was expecting in the couple hundreds and stuff like that, and would be like, hey, so how much is this gonna cost me, like throughout the appointments? Oh, don't worry about it, like you're a friend, it's fine, like we'll figure it out.
When they say don't worry about it, I feel like you
should worry
about it.
Yes, I think we should have memes or like shirts that say things like that, like if the other party is saying don't worry about it, that's when you need to worry. So this was my family members, the connection. Everyone knows everyone in Albania. It's a small country, but still, like, it matters when it's like an acquaintance. And they're like, don't worry about it, we'll figure it out at the end. And then at the end, they got the bill and it was $10,000. Again, the expectation was maybe a few hundred, maybe even like 1,000, because there was a lot of work. But what was my family member going to do? Like, they weren't going to, you can't dispute at that point because they can make it all up. It's like, oh yeah, I did this, I don't know, cleaning and this implant and this and that. And you can't really dispute at that point, because it's similar to the hairstylist. If they say I gave you the treatment, you're not gonna not pay for your treatment you actually got. So that's why it's extremely important to lock it in up front, the price. And so with hairstylists, I do this all the time up front, like, hey, I need this, how much do you think it'll cost? And they're like, depends on your length. I send a picture, this is my length, how much do you think it'll cost? They're like, oh, I need to see you in person. I'm like, okay, can you give me a range? Again, you might worry. The instinct is to worry that you're being annoying or the deal will fall through or the partnership or project, whatever you're working on. But maybe you can even say, well, to yourself, you're like, I could end up paying a lot more. And to them, you can if you feel like you need to communicate it to them, you can say, hey, I've been upsold and not communicated quite often, so I just want to make sure. Or you can say, I have a budget for this. I don't want to exceed it. Or even like with a hairstylist, oh, this is actually a gift from my friend, and so I don't want it to be too expensive. And who knows?
That's a good one.
Yeah, just come up, or like my husband, or like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, just come up with a reason so that it's clean and you don't feel like you're being annoying.
Yeah, I think a good personal reminder when you feel like you're being annoying by asking up front is you're asking this, maybe a slightly uncomfortable question or possibly being annoying in order to avoid an extremely uncomfortable or difficult conversation later once the service has already happened and it's already done and you don't really have much choice and you have to speak up then, right?
Yeah. I think beyond just that, you're avoiding a very uncomfortable conversation, or if you don't have that conversation and you just pay, you're avoiding paying all that money.
Oh, right.
And then also the resentment and almost like a moral conundrum where you're like, should I have said something? Should I have not? I think that's the hardest one for me. Like with the LASF lady, I was like, but like, she's young and she travels between SF and LA, and like, am I being, what do you call it? Like a stickler for like, I think she upsold me $30-$50. Like she pays for her own flights. I don't know. I was feeling bad, but also I shouldn't have to pay for something she didn't communicate up front. So those messy feelings, they have a cost. So might as well just avoid all that up front.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think we can wrap the negotiation part here.
Yeah, I hope everyone listening saves some money out there with all the services that they're doing.
Yeah.
So before we wrap, I wanted to share with our listeners something that I recently did that I had such a profound positive effect. And so one thing that's really recently been on my mind is friendships, and friendships that I've had since I was a kid or high school and college, all the way to more recent friends that I've made. And I've been thinking a lot about how there are some very longtime friends of mine that I just don't talk to that much anymore. And I was I was feeling guilt and also thinking, oh man, we used to be so close and we no longer are, or I haven't spoken to them in a year or so. And so I've been thinking through this, and maybe we could do a whole nother topic about friendships and
how to
the
negotiate with your friends.
Okay, not necessarily negotiate, but just how to think about friends and maintaining people in your life, but also whether you've known them for a long time or not. Anyway, so I was feeling kind of down about the fact that I haven't spoken with some people that I used to be super close with. And as some of you know, I've been trying to be a lot more consistent with meditation. And in one of the meditation practices, I learned something I thought was super profound. And I think it's very, very easy to do. And it might maybe inspire someone who's listening to this to use this technique to also reconnect with old friends, because I use this method to reconnect with some of my very longtime friends I haven't spoken to in a long time.
But before you get to that, I just want to say you are one of the very few people, or I can't think of anyone else, maybe other than myself, but that you...
I feel like you're about to compliment me, but then you're ultimately then complimenting yourself.
No, you do this better than me. You learn something and you implement it right away. Like you read something, you're like, oh, let me do it right away. You did this with Slide Edge. I think we've talked about this.
Where flossing my teeth.
Yeah, they say, oh, to get better at flossing your teeth, floss one tooth a day for like a month. And then you did it. And who does that? Like, it was so cool.
Yeah.
But you are uniquely the type of person who actually reads something and implements it right away. I'm always in awe.
Aw, thank you. Yeah, I think I just get very curious to see if something I learned, I want to see it in action, I guess. And so I just do it to learn to see if it'll work. And if it does, then I stick with it. Anyway, but thank you for that. So in this meditation exercise, so there is this practice of meditation. I can't remember how it's pronounced. It's either called menta or menta. And essentially what it is while you're meditating, you think about someone in your life, and ideally someone that you're not super close with, but they're in your life, where you can think about them in a somewhat objective way. There's some distance there. And you think to yourself while meditating, you imagine them wherever they are in the world and they're going about their lives, and you envision them being truly, truly happy. Like in that moment, maybe they had a huge win at work, or they're with their kids and just having a super precious moment, or they just heard a really funny joke and they're just dying laughing, surrounded by the people that they're loved with. Whatever it is, you just truly imagine them being so, so happy in that moment. And I started doing this, and the people that I kept thinking about were my friends that I haven't talked to in a long time. And it made me feel really good imagining them being so happy. And I used this as an opportunity to reach out to every single one of those friends. And I just shot them a text out of the blue. And I said, hey, I recently started this meditation practice where I envision someone in my life and I think about them being truly happy, and you came to mind, and it just made me think of you. I just wanted to share that. I hope you're doing well. And yeah, it was like, and so I
this is so on brand for you.
So I sent this text to, when I did it, actually that day when I learned that Menta exercise, I texted 10 of my friends, my college buddies and my high school friends. Every single one of them got back to me and said, wow, Alex, thank you so much. I'm super touched. I'm doing great. How are you doing? And I actually reconnected with all of them. And some of them I hopped on phone calls with, and we caught up. And it was really, really cool to just be able to talk to them. And so I think that, and this maybe almost, I just realized this kind of ties into what we talked about previously earlier in this episode, having a reason. Sometimes I think we are stopped from reaching out to people because we feel like it'll just feel random, right? But when I was doing this Menta meditation exercise, it felt like a very valid and amazing reason to reach out to them, because I actually did this exercise that made me think of them. I envisioned them being truly happy. I wished that for them, and it was a great opportunity to just reach out and share that. And it led to us reconnecting, and I was happy that I was able to talk to all of my buddies from college and high school, and I just felt so fulfilled. And so I wanted to share that with those who are listening. Maybe they can try this out, or
they could just make up the Menta thing. Like if you need if you need an excuse to talk to old friends or some like acquaintances, just be like, I did this Menta exercise, and you don't have to actually do it.
Yeah, but also I recommend the Menta exercise. It literally takes like 30 seconds.
Oh, really?
And you feel so good. It was a very powerful experience, and it was probably one of my favorite takeaways from my meditation journey.
This is the Sam Harris app?
This is Sam Harris app. It's called Waking Up. Really good. Smash that affiliate link below. Just kidding. I don't have an affiliate link. But I highly recommend this meditation app. I think we've talked about it before. But yeah, it was a very, very powerful experience. It doesn't take that long. Everyone, after you finish listening to this podcast, I challenge you to just take a minute right after this podcast. Just close your eyes. Think about someone in your life.
Now, just close your eyes right now.
Okay, close your eyes right now. Think about someone in your life, maybe not someone you see all the time, someone somewhat distant or that you have good acquaintance with, and just imagine them being...
Or like an old friend you haven't connected with recently.
Exactly, yeah. And imagine them being truly, right now, wherever they are in the world, just being truly happy and having one of the most precious happy moments. And I promise you will feel good. And this could also be an opportunity for you to reach out to them.
Yeah. This is so beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll leave it there. Okay.
I thought of someone. Yeah. My high school best friend. I'll go
shoot her a text. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, we will see everybody on the next episode of Gentle Power. Thanks for joining us.
Bye.